first drive. Got really good oil pressure, way better than I used to. Apparently I've got a battery or alternator issue, and I already got a checked engine light. So we'll have to see what that's all about, but it's running. Alright, it's been a long time. Well, I've worked on this probably 10 hours since the last time I talked, so I just wanted to wrap it up. It is done, runs good, does not overheat. I installed a transmission, temp gauge, and so that is working too. Basically, it is a plug-and-play swap in the terms of I didn't have to splice any wires. The AC was kind of a super pain, but it's at least buttoned up. I haven't charged it. Who knows how long that'll be before I do that. But otherwise, everything swapped over. Now, pretty much, it's everything. You got from your donor truck to this one, pretty much everything. If you look in my donor truck, about the only thing that's left is I didn't have to do anything with brakes. Although this sensor was lower, so I had to open the wire harness up and just pull the wires up, but I didn't have to do any splicing. So that sensor, so the brakes stayed the same. Unfortunately, the power steering pump and AC pump are switched in the V8, so they don't just switch over. So that's a pain. So you have to disconnect that and switch your power steering lines and your AC lines. This can stay. All this stuff right here can stay, but all the wiring, literally every inch of wiring has to switch over, except for like your trailer harness wires and stuff. I mean, you can unplug them here, and that right down there, that wire harness didn't have to change. Everything else, transmission harness had to change. It just plugged right in and worked. But pretty much it's everything underneath the hood's got to change. So that's that. I think I have a little bit of a power steering leak, but that's it. So if you want to do this, it can be done, but just know it's pretty much everything under the hood from the donor's got to move to from your inline 6 trucks, swapping it into the V8 truck. Almost everything under the hood's got to go. So hopefully that's helpful for you and lets you know whether you think you want to tackle that project. I probably have, I don't know, 40, 50 hours into it. Kind of stumbling my way through it, but it's done. Alright, so this is the conclusion to the conclusion on the old Ford F-150. So did come across a couple things since the first conclusion. I've driven it probably 1,000 miles now, so let me give you those. Ugh. Hopefully I don't freeze to death. Yeah, my ignition switch doesn't ever know when it's on, so it dings all the time. So, let me set you down. Well, I undo this. Oh, it's cold. Come on. Alright, so let's talk about what came up afterwards. I did end up putting the airbag wires back in. So I spliced basically what you want to do is make sure that your options are the same from your donor truck to this one. Otherwise your engine bay wiring harness is going to have different things. So the donor didn't have airbags, and it didn't have the Jojo, get out of the road. Come on. Stupid dog, right when the sheriff's driving by. Hey, get in the truck. Get in. You stay in there. So, I'm distracted now. The sheriff's gonna come give me a ticket for having my dog not leashed, probably. He's a nice guy. Anyways, you want to make sure that your options are the same on both trucks. So this one didn't have, or the Donor didn't have airbags, and it also didn't have this trailer wiring harness doodad down here. And so this truck is set up to have a brake controller and all that. My Donor didn't have that. So I did go back in and actually splice in those wires. I didn't actually open this harness up. You can see I just zip tied them in there. Whatever. The airbags actually don't work because my clock spring's also bad. Go figure. But man, it's cold out here. But at least the wires are in there. Same for the trailer harness. It's all wired in there. And so you can actually go, it's to the C202 firewall harness, and you can track your pins, and you just split it and open the pins. What is going on? This cat is like freaking out. Actually, I heard this cat last night when I put the trash out. Man. Anyways, shh, trying to take a video. Yeah, so it's not too difficult. There's other videos on how to change pins out. What I did find though that was really frustrating is the Donor truck matched a 93 C202 pin out, but my 94 did not match the 94 C202. Neither did it match the 95 one. So I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. So I actually had to trace the wires on my 94 from the color or whatever to the pinout. Now the colors I think were right, but just to what pin they ran to. So really the only problem though I had was the windshield wiper motor went to totally different pinouts, and instead of just tearing into the whole thing, I just stole the... So apparently these three are the same, but those three wires are different. So I just stole those, taped it in there, put them in to their correct pinouts. Whoops. So there is some electrical stuff that has to be done. So my suggestion is, if you do decide to do this, get the exact same year with the same features if you don't want to have to do those pain in the butt wiring things. Otherwise it runs great. In fact, I have three vehicles. I have a 97 Grand Caravan and a 97 Impala. This one actually has less models and is the only one that doesn't leak oil, so it doesn't leak anything. That's great, awesome. Put about 1,000 miles on it and it runs great. I did pick up some nice BFG all-terrains for 25 bucks, for 50 bucks for a set of 4. So that's kind of nice. Let the dog out here. Let's go inside, dog. Way too cold. So I got my rear tank working, all that stuff. And as far as did I come in under budget, which, as you remember, my budget was 0. I gotta get my script out here real quick for you. Hang on. Ha! So I didn't have any money to work with on this deal. My wife was skeptical that I could pull off this without any money. But from the Donor truck, I sold the bumper. It had a nice, I think it was a Rhino brand, I don't know, guard on it. Sold that for 400 bucks. Sold the fenders for 75 each. Ooh, when I did my math, I didn't do each. I just did once. I sold the hood and cowl for 100, the dash for 100, the inside plastics for 100, the seat for 100. The whole remainder of what was left of the truck,
I sold for 150 with the title. I sold the tailgate for 75. I sold the old 5.0 that had the bad bearing for 300. I was pretty happy about that, and basically all the leftover parts from the engine bay, including it had like a brand new alternator on it, so that was like $100. But anyways, I sold the old transmission that I think still worked but had a bad seal. I was honest about it, for $100. So I made $1,500 from parting out that motor after the stuff that I used, and I only spent, according to my calculations, $810. So I came out way ahead, and it's fine, Jojo. I actually kept the headache rack from that truck, and I still have a bumper, a front tank and pump, a K&N air filter, and the radiator from the other truck. So I still got a couple parts for sale, but I did it. Switched it out and didn't spend any money. In fact, I had a little bit of extra spending money when it was all said and done. But so it can be done. It is a ton of work. Probably would never do it again. I just put another 5.0 in. So yeah, that's all I got. I gotta go in. My hand is freezing.